Welcome, I'm Shawn.
Thomas.
Sammy.
And together we are...
Sparkcast!
The current podcast is an older episode. To catch more current episodes, you can search Sparkcast wherever podcasts are available, or go to geekaid.com. This is going to be a brief episode about Generation 2, but for that, first we're going to ask Thomas what he thought Generation 2 and Generation 1 actually was before he discovered the truth just a few weeks ago.
The truth that I've already forgotten. A lot's been going on in these past few weeks with like anime conventions and work and stuff like that, so I already forgot. But right now, Generation 2, I would say, is just, I don't know, Season 2, where they introduce a new line of toys for Season 2.
You told me that you thought Generation 2 was a sequel to the original 80s cartoon a few years later.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
That sounds odd. Well, I mean,
that's what the name implies.
Well, yeah, I guess I would say it's a sequel to the first season. It's a different thing.
What happened is while we were waiting for Sammy to arrive onto our Skype chat, I showed Thomas an episode of Generation 2 of the first episode. And Thomas, do you remember what you witnessed? You really did not like it, so you just blocked the entire thing out.
Everything.
You don't remember. It was the exact same episode 1 from the original G1, but with an awesome cube that spun around and kept making transition to transition. You know, someone walked to the door, transition. No. Someone walked to the computer, another transition.
Oh my god!
You blocked it out.
That's right, I forgot. Holy crap. It was just the same thing. It's the first. How can they call Generation 2? They called it Generation 2, but it was just a repackaging of the regular episodes with a bunch of crappy transitions in them, and they happen every 2 seconds with no rhyme or reason. The scene never changes, and they transition to a guy that's still doing the same thing. Oh my god, how did I forget that? Holy crap.
You blocked it out. This is unadulterated anger. Just
Oh my god, I can't believe that. I really had no clue what we were talking about. You said that we watched it. I got nervous. Like, are you going to tell me to tell what the first episode was? I don't remember. I said I didn't remember. Oh my god. But then once you started talking about a spinning cube and transitions, I could just feel these feelings just welling up in me, and I just wanted to cut you off mid-sentence and say, I don't want to watch the clip. Don't remind me.
I only showed him first 2 minutes of the episode.
It's stupid. It's done from the start. You messed up by calling it G2, acting like it's different, and it's the same thing. It's just the regular's first season.
Yeah,
so intense.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness. I would probably be speaking with more anger if I wasn't laughing so much at how I completely honestly forgot that I remember all this. And I had the same reaction the first time, and I completely forgot. Oh my god.
I'm glad we could record this.
Okay, so
Majesty.
now that we've got that away, explain to me why that is. Do we know why?
Okay, here we go.
It's G2, but it's
Toys.
So, we got Transformers. Okay, it premiered September 17th, 1984. Lasted until 1987. Very next year, there was a 3-episode Season 4. And then after that, the remake of Season 5 with Puppet Optimus Prime that you know very well.
But Season 5 was also retelling of episodes,
yes.
Right?
Why mess with the formula that worked? Generation 2 was just repeats of Season 1 and 2 that ran 13 episodes, quote unquote, of Season 1, because, I don't really consider those episodes. Season 2 had 39 episodes. Out of the original 65 episodes of Season 1 and 2, 16 were not aired, but for some reason, they showed 3 episodes from Season 3. Could you imagine being a kid growing up with the repeats only, and you're like, what is this? All these new Transformers. This is Transformers. What am I watching?
Do we know who put these episodes out? Yeah. Like, who published them?
There was a reason.
Or distributed them?
They were trying to bring Transformers back into the toy market after a brief hiatus. And they were like, well, we're going to make some new toys. Why don't we just reintroduce the series again, but call it something else?
So did they think that the episodes... Well, you said that they cut out about 16 episodes. Mm-hmm. So I guess Transformers seems like a show that would have a bunch of one-offs. Like at least of the few that I've seen so far, I think one or two of them were kind of self-contained. I mean, well, I guess some of it's
what are
still
you talking about?
The episodes themselves. I've seen like the first 5 episodes of G1.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if some of those are just some of the 16 episodes that were cut off for G2. Were those 16 episodes just standalone episodes?
They were all completely random. They were chosen episodes because some were 2 and 3 parters, some were 1, some were.
So they actually cut out episodes that belong to multi-part episodes.
No. They just didn't air the entire original series.
All right.
So maybe it just wasn't popular enough to get that season 3 of the repeats.
Maybe they were working with a limited slot. They had the network. Oh, well, it's only going to give them so many episodes, so they just decided to cut some.
Sammy, do you want to read the fun fact on page 1 and read those next 2 paragraphs?
Sure. Can I just read it off the thing, or do I have to, like, summarize the thing?
No, read the whole thing. I want to see also your reaction as you go along.
Oh, okay, cool. So, fun fact. All these transitions were also used in the toy commercials, but there was editing on rare occasions. Instead of a fade out, the end of each episode leading to a commercial break had the footage slowed down to stop the fade out from happening. And they had to cut out the spinning Autobot and Decepticon logo to play even more cube transitions. Why?
Because that cube made Generation 2. You had to repeat it constantly. Anything old had to be getting rid of.
Like, is it because, like, cubes and Energon cubes, and we had to make sure everybody knew about the Energon cubes? I don't...
So when did this air? Like, what year? I guess maybe they were just, here, cool kids, you like computer graphics.
This came out in fall 92 to spring 94. Sammy, read the next paragraph. Funniest thing is the next thing you're going to say. I totally don't know what you're going to say.
Also, the narrator for each episode was a new person, but he read the same exact script from the original episodes for every single episode, all 52 of them for Generation 2. Because we couldn't afford a new script.
I just like how they hired somebody to say the same thing. They're like, no, that narrator, he's got to go. But that script was gold.
Just, it's beautiful. Just Oscar-winning script. It's good. Don't change a thing. Change the voice actor. Get out of here. Pick up another one off the street.
This sounds so terrible.
Sammy, what did you think when you first saw a Generation 2 episode? Like when you must have stumbled across it online or something like that?
I feel like I watched maybe 30 seconds of it, got confused, and then I went down the Headmaster hellhole. And that's a whole different thing, but like it is equally as bad.
Everybody keeps saying it. All I know is the theme song, and I want to watch that show.
Don't. Do yourself a favor and don't.
The thing that I remember when I showed Thomas is Megatron. Shockwave goes to a new screen, and there's a transition. That seems realistic. Then there's a transition as he gets out of the elevator when the camera moves only 20 degrees over. And then when he hits a button to talk on the screen, it does the transition again, and then cuts to Megatron and back again. So we've got 5 transitions in the span of 7 seconds.
And he's barely moved like 10 feet.
And one of those transitions lasts 2 seconds long.
Actually, you know what? I think the first time I watched it, I'm pretty sure I thought it was like a YouTube poop or something, and that's why I stopped watching it. I was like, this is a joke, and I switched it.
So
some fan edit.
That was actually one of my questions was, Sammy, have you ever managed to watch an entire episode?
No. No, pay me to do that.
But you guys have seen the theme song for Generation 2, correct?
Remind us.
Well, if you go to YouTube, type in... Actually, no, I have it. So what am I talking about? It's right here.
Striving to save the world from the evil Decepticons, the heroic Autobots are led by Optimus Prime. He's more than meets the eye. He's a robot in disguise. Going ballistic to destroy the Autobots and conquer mankind, the evil Decepticons are more than meets the eye. Heroic Autobots versus evil Decepticons with the fate of planet Earth hanging in the balance. Transformers Generation 2. And now, through the magic of the Cybernet Space Cube, and stories of the Transformers Generation 2.
So, that was a trip.
It's funny because it sounds cheesy only because they repeat it twice. The thing. If they did it once, it'd be fine. But then it just no.
No, like the CG is distracting me too much.
This is 1992.
Yeah, I definitely didn't notice it. I was distracted by the CG as well. They had the CG fight. Why is it Optimus fighting Megatron in this intro?
I know that was.
I guess
weird.
was that Skywarp he was fighting?
Or Thundercracker?
Some kind of flyer that wasn't either Starscream either. So like.
Some random Decepticon seeker. It's fine.
Hold on.
Optimus fights those.
Yeah, the ending is just generic background music that's exactly similar to the theme song.
And I guess
So was that even a theme song? Like, was there any catchy music to that?
That's background music with a narration. That's a theme song, right?
That's not a theme song. That's not how theme songs work.
I mean, it kind of there was one line that I caught that kind of helped explain the cube transitions, because it seemed like I forgot exactly what it said, but it was basically saying that the cube is telling us the stories.
Yeah,
it's retelling the stories of the Transformers. So I guess that's why it's there. The concept of like it happens so much that I tell you that this is me. I'm telling you the story.
It's just a random cube that's telling us stories about Transformers.
So before the Allspark of the movies, we had the awesome Generation 2 cube.
The magic cube.
Yeah.
Okay.
So which do you prefer? You must suffer one. Would you suffer the movie's Allspark or this one?
I like the Allspark. Allspark is good. At least the cube is too generic. It's a cube. It's a metal cube.
I guess something funny.
It's definitely not safe for children.
Yeah, I guess something funny for you guys. Generation 2 episodes were actually released on VHS and DVD in 4 other countries.
Like, whose decision? By whose decision they thought that was going to be a good idea?
I mean, weren't we like are at war around that time? Go for stuff? Did we send that to our enemies? Psychological warfare. Just these random transitions, so just spamming constantly. It's trying to give them epilepsy.
It's like they can't focus, so their eyes and brains just shut down, and everybody can just sneak into everyone's homes now. I actually didn't watch this. When I watched Transformers for the second time, it was the year 1994, so I would have been 11 or 12 years old. And I remember it clearly because I was watching Transformers, Dino Riders, which was already 6 years old at this point, and Thundercats, even though I would always leave to play a video game and then go back, because I wasn't into Thundercats at the time, or at all. And then it led into the Marvel Action Hour of Fantastic Four and Iron Man, which is how I know it was 1994. The only problem is, this was the very last year. The previous year, Generation 2 had already existed, and the satellite chose, nope, we're not going to do that. They even knew that was shit, and they just replayed the original episodes on their satellite network. So I never experienced Generation 2 at all until many years later in the internet age, I think. If I saw it once or twice as a kid, I didn't remember it.
I mean, it also probably blended in with the actual episodes, since they were just chopped up G1. So, why would you remember it?
So here's the thing that will not make sense to you the most. Generation 2 is because they were going to make figures, right? Well, Generation 2, a lot of the figures were recolored. So you're like, here's these awesome figures, now go watch them on TV where they don't look like anything that you just bought.
Good.
I'm just sitting here just like, which question do I want to ask first to that ridiculous statement? Because, I mean, I guess if they probably already had existing molds, so they didn't want to just make new figures and new episodes to sell those figures, which makes sense. But then why would they change the colors? If the whole point is to sell toys, why change the colors?
They're special variants of the characters that you love on the show.
Yeah, I was going to say, or they promote it as special variants or anything like that. It's just, I hope they at least reprinted the original. Like, I assume, surely you could get original versions of these characters.
I don't think so. I think the whole point of Generation 2 was it was supposed to be new, recolors. I don't think they didn't sell multiple versions of figures back in that day, I don't think.
Really? Okay.
I'm not sure, but I'm not a toy collector or know about most of these things, so I only know that what they looked like at the time, because I do remember I've read all the comics where they all looked like that. And which, speaking of, check out this awesome cover of Optimus Prime with a smoking gun in front of him.
With a bunch of bolts and battery shells stuck in his skull.
Have you seen this image, Sammy?
I'm sorry, what are we looking at?
Type in Transformers Gen 2 comics, and look at the one that's Optimus Prime's face. You see Optimus Prime's face taking up the entire screen? It should be the third and fifth image.
Oh, there we go. Found it.
Take a look at the bullets, the gun, and
I have a lot of questions.
What does that
This
say?
is not your father's Autobot.
Yeah, that's how you know it's serious.
Not using laser weapons anymore.
This is so 90s. It hurts because they're all using big ass guns, and they also even have X-Men pouches around them for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did they have a bunch of like lines and stuff, just super detailed for no reason?
It's wow.
I'm sorry, I can't get over the tagline. I can't.
Not your father's Autobot.
Oh, it actually says that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yes.
god.
But again, you saw it but refused to accept it. But yeah, I read all of this when it came out in graphic novel and form in college.
But it was only like 5. It's not that long ago, right? I mean, Transformers, was it 10 years maybe
This would have been
between the original
G2
airing?
G2 is 23 years old.
No, but G2,
25 years old.
but it didn't come out. It didn't come out 25 years after
the Gen 2 came
the
out
first airing. It was
in 1992. So Transformers would have been off the air for, if you don't count just 3 episodes of season 4, it's been 5 or 6 years.
So yeah, why is this not your father's Autobot? I mean, your father was never watching the show. Your older
Seriously?
brother was watching the show.
Well, not your older brother's Autobot. Doesn't really have a ring to it.
There's also Megatron was actually restructured to be a tank because they couldn't sell guns anymore as toys. So he's
Right.
now a tank. So it was only 12 issues. It wasn't a success, and then it ended. Okay, so wait, here goes. Thomas or Sammy, which of you wants to read what happened to Starscream during Gen 2?
I'll do it. You said Starscream, and I was like, dibs.
Thomas's reaction as she reads along.
Yeah, maybe she'll be able to get through it with more of a straight face than I could.
Thanks. I'll try. So Starscream stole the Matrix from Optimus Prime and used it to fuse with the Decepticon ship as big as a moon. But when Earth was threatened, the Matrix made planet Starscream protect it because the Matrix is the force of good. And Starscream gave up the power if it meant he had to be good and possibly sacrifice himself, because we all know Starscream has to constantly be evil. So he later saves Optimus Prime's life and worries that the Matrix has actually changed him due to this act. I'm sorry, give me a second. So it's also heavily implied that at the end of issue number 12, Megatron has seen the error of his ways and ends the Decepticon war due to watching Optimus Prime defy all odds to stay alive, save even Megatron, and save Earth. But it still ends on a cliffhanger, setting up a new villain that would never appear again in any Transformers fiction. His name is Liege Maximo.
Yeah.
Sure, he's considered one of the 13 original Primes in a few of the other universes' backstories, but he's never really shown doing anything. Unless you count the comic writer's script for the next unreleased issues that he turned into a short story for release at a Transformers convention. But really, who considers any of that canon?
There you go. That's, most of G2. Doesn't actually stop there. The UK had 2 original comics, and Japan even made an original manga book that took place actually after G1's cartoon continuity, and actually started with the war between Autobots and Decepticons already ended with a peace treaty, but then when a Decepticon accidentally gets killed, the war starts all over again. It's interesting how 2 different authors tried to end the war in both of these Gen 2 stories.
I mean, the war's been going on for a really long time. It's kind of interesting because in Megatron seeing the light or whatever, they do that in IDW and they do that in Transformers Prime.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, they never did a Megatron is dead, now it's time to move on story, did they? It's always, I've seen the light, I'm no longer a bad guy.
Well, like in Prime, do we know what happened to Megatron in that? This is not actually relevant to this podcast, but...
I haven't seen season 3 of Robots in Disguise yet, because they won't put it on Netflix.
Dang
I
it.
thought
Because he
they
just
did
was like...
kind of kill him off in Prime.
No, remember,
No, he
Unicron
just flew
brought
off.
him back
He
to
just
life in the
flew.
movie.
I brought him back.
No,
No, in the
he's
movie.
there.
I'm talking about Prime, the cartoon.
Yeah, Prime the movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait, what? No, well, like Prime the movie is still like the season finale or whatever of Prime. Yeah. At the end of that, he just is like, I have disbanded all Decepticons, and then flies off.
He's like, peace out, homies.
Like, that's it. And then Starscream's like, yes, well, I guess I'm leader of the Decepticons now.
Actually...
And then the Dinobots are like, hey, no, you're not. Or not the Dinobots, the Predacons. Spoiler alert for everybody who hasn't watched that.
There's one last thing that I thought was really hilarious is during Generation 2, the GoBots brand was now owned by Hasbro, so they actually released some of the GoBots with the Transformers names. So there were they were just minor names, like, this GoBot named Megatron and this GoBot named Optimus Prime.
No!
Just in smaller, more
names.
low-budget forms.
I mean, that's what GoBots is. They are the smaller, low-budget versions of Transformers.
I have never seen a GoBot. Like, when I was...
I'm sitting there shaking my head because,
so
I don't do
my
action
work.
figures, and I'm like... I wish I actually knew what a GoBot looked like to chime in on this conversation, and all the while you've never seen it either. I've never seen a GoBot. I've always heard it talked about.
I saw 1 or 2 episodes as a kid, and then I have a coloring book somewhere back there in my closet, but I still don't remember anything.
Guys, there's a submarine called Dive. And
Dive
you also
Dive.
have a forklift called Spoons. I hate the show.
I just remember one of them had a really dorky look to his eyes, and I don't know
All
if he was...
of them.
A forklift named Spoon. How dumb.
Don't they... Wait. They do have a human kid that joins them on their adventures, right?
Yes? I don't remember. This is the
probably.
point where
It
I've
was the
blocked out
80s,
GoBots.
Probably.
Yeah, I guess you never felt compelled to experiment with GoBots.
I watched 1 episode because my friend was like, GoBots is totally better than Transformers. And I was like, that's a lie, but I'll watch 1 episode. 2 minutes in, they're like, the GoBots come from Gobertron. And I'm like, I'm done.
You went to that friend's Facebook and went unfriended.
I can't. However, the Japanese counterpart, like Mighty Robots, something like that. I forgot the Japanese version. Anyways, the Japanese version's actually really good and well animated.
It sounds like you said Mighty Orbot.
It is not Mighty Orbots, but that's a beautiful show.
That looked awesome. I've seen the theme song. But anyway, we're getting a little too off topic there.
Sorry.
I do.
Here, it's the Angry Hour with Thomas and Sammy.
So, Thomas, would I ever be able to get you to watch an episode of G2?
No, absolutely not.
The only one that they did that you would probably like is they did Starscream's Ghost from season 3 as a G2.
No, I'm not gonna watch any of that stuff.
Not even for Starscream.
I'll watch the regular episode. It's just the regular episode. Why would I watch a sullied version?
I was trying to trick him, Sammy. It didn't work.
I'm sorry. I can't even trick anyone to watch G2.
I'm pretty sure I watched it a few years ago, and I was like, I'll watch G2 since, I haven't watched that, and yeah, that didn't last. Instead, I just went to Netflix and watched them from there, and only watched the season 5 episodes, and then watched the rest on Netflix, because season 5 at least is funny in its cheesiness at the beginning and ending, and isn't as obnoxious as Generation 2's rotating cube effects and everything.
But aren't you so taken by the cube telling the stories, the really chopped up stories of Transformers? This cube needs to get its memory checked.
Well, imagine we did something like that on this podcast. What do you think, Thomas? And then once right before Sammy speaks, all of a sudden you hear as it goes to the next transition.
Transition effects under the audio.
I always feel like I should edit that just to make it sound awful.
Like, here's the original episode. Here's the G2 version of this episode.
It's the G2 episode of our podcast. It's it's an extra 30 seconds longer because of all the transition for just this 1 minute.
Transition mid-sentence.
It would be a transition on every pause in that sentence.
Oh, no.
But that's just a brief summary of Generation 2, and I'm pretty sure we've covered everything we possibly can.
And really, if you want to know any more about G2, just look it up, because we're done. I'm done. I think Thomas and I are done.
There was no way I could let Thomas's raw emotion not be recorded for posterity.
I don't know. I mean, I successfully just erased that from my memory.
That's only the second time I've seen you either so frustrated and angry at something, and it was hilarious.
Making your friends suffer is great. A+.
Well, the only other time I saw you get really angry and frustrated was when I showed you this anime called Garzy's Wing, which is completely unrelated to this podcast, but his mind couldn't handle it.
People who know about it, they know why. They probably had the same reactions watching that. They'll know.
Yeah, so we're signing off for now. And my brain died, so get someone else to continue the conversation.
We're signing off for now. I hope you enjoyed Generation 2 nonsense. This has been Sammy,
Thomas,
and Shawn, and we'll be back next week with the Generation 2 version of this episode.
Hope you guys enjoy.
Watch your television universe undergo a startling transformation. Transformers! As the heroic Autobots and their leader Optimus Prime go metal against metal to stop the evil Megatron and his Decepticon army from ruling planet Earth. It's a journey of incredible adventure and explosive action, with 3D computer effects that'll blast you right out of your chair and into hyperspace. Transformers! You will be transformed. Transformers Generation 2.